This is R2D Tech and we're back again with another video today, this time about the Fairphone 3 Plus, so stay tuned. So if you don't know, Fairphone is a company that have been making phones with renewable resources as well as fair pay to the workers for a few years now. This year they've come out with the Fairphone 3 Plus, which is kind of a small update to the Fairphone 3 which we saw last year. I would classify the Fairphone 3 Plus as a mid-range phone with a relatively high price of around £400. So let's see what it has to offer. Firstly, let's start with the design, and it is a mostly plastic phone. However, it's not just any plastic, it's actually 40% recycled plastic from bottles and other waste. Now, while a plastic design might be disappointing for a few people because it probably will pick up more scratches, there are a couple of advantages. For example, it won't shatter as easily, and it will also be lighter than many glass phones out there. Now, for the display, you are getting a 5.65-inch display, 1080p resolution, and it is an LCD panel. It does also have pretty big bezels, so don't expect anything special from the design. However, the phone does have a massive feature that pretty much no other phone has, and that's that it has almost a completely modular design. You can take apart and replace almost all the parts of the phone. Obviously, some parts easier than others. The parts that Fairphone are selling on their website right now for replacements are both camera modules, front and back. You can also buy the battery, the back cover, the speaker, and also the display if you want to. This modularity has earned it a score of 10 out of 10 on iFixit's repairability score, so that is really impressive. What's also really good is that a lot of these parts are also backwards compatible with the older Fairphone, so you can actually use them if you want to on some of the older phones, for example the camera modules. I think this is a really good idea because it means if Fairphone bring out new parts in the future, you can just add them to your phone cheaply without having to get a completely new phone, which is actually really bad for the environment. Now, running through the specs quickly, for a processor, you're going to be getting the Snapdragon 632, which is kind of a lower mid-range processor. Then for RAM, you're getting 4 GB, 64 GB of storage, but you do also get a micro SD card slot if you want to expand that. And then finally, a 3040 mAh battery. So those specs aren't really that impressive. However, it will get the job done with everyday tasks, and you will also be able to play some games and other stuff if you want to. It's obviously not going to be able to compete with the modern flagships out there. However, that's not really the point of this phone. For cameras, quite impressively, on the back you're going to be getting a 48 megapixel lens, and on the front a 16 megapixel lens. So those are pretty impressive numbers, but as we've said before, it doesn't just come down to the megapixels, and the photos that this phone can produce aren't going to be anywhere near the standard of Apple's new phones and Google's new phones. So don't expect anything special there. For a budget phone, the photos are still pretty respectable, however. For software, it's good to see that it will be running the latest version of Android 10. Fairphone are actually pretty good in terms of updating their software, better than other companies such as Samsung, so hopefully they'll continue that trend in the future, and hopefully it will be a phone that will get Android 11 quite quickly. It is also running a pretty stock version of Android, which is really good to see. There isn't any kind of skin over the top, which I think would have been a bad idea, to be honest. For connectors and security, you are getting a USB-C port for charging. You are also getting a 3.5mm audio jack and a fingerprint reader on the back, which, to be honest, is a little bit weirdly placed. It's actually near the top of the phone at the back, which can be a little bit hard to reach. However, it is still fast and responsive, so I guess that's kind of good. Now for £400, it is going to be a phone on the expensive side of the mid-range category. However, the money is going to a good cause, as I said before. The resources are obtained legally and the workers get fair wages, which is a really good thing. I also really like the idea of having a phone that can be upgraded with parts in the future without having to get a completely new phone, which is bad for the environment as well as being quite annoying in having to switch phones. I really hope that some other companies adopt this to a certain extent. Obviously, they're probably not going to because it's not a good way of making money. However, it would be really nice to see. There were rumors a few years ago that Google were also making a modular phone. So hopefully that project hasn't died yet. So it is an expensive phone and there are definitely going to be phones out there with much better specs for the price. However, if that's the price of sustainability, then it might just be worth it. That's it from this video. If you liked it, please press the thumbs up button, and if you loved it, please consider subscribing. If you want to, you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. The links will be in the description.